every headline I'm seeing about the Sony earnings call is negative. People keep talking about how bad this last quarter was, how bad this reports are, and a lot of it is presented with shocking headlines and a negative light. I actually, believe it or not, want to talk about why it might not be quite as bad as you think it is and discuss some of the really interesting points that I've found going over the data the last few days. Let's dive right in. Thanks so much for watching, everybody. If you like my content, hit that subscribe button, hit that bell to know when it goes live. And I really appreciate it when you subscribe because it helps the channel grow. Also, like the video if you like the video. That's fun too. So let's talk a little bit about these numbers. I got my notes here. I want to talk about these earnings that everybody seems to be freaking out about and the sensational headlines that we've seen for the most part. So before I dive into everything, I did the Xbox video. You can check that out right here. And their numbers are also down. And Sony's numbers are down, unsurprisingly. The reason I say unsurprisingly is because what happened during COVID is there was an explosion of people buying and playing games at just simply an unsustainable rate. People are going back into the office. They're going back into work. At least some people are who are being required to. And that's going to affect spending a bit. I do think we continue to see this get worse, so to speak, over the next few years. But let's dive into the actual numbers that were posted by these companies. So as you remember from the Xbox video, revenue is down 7% year over year, meaning they made $3.45 billion. To compare, Sony this quarter made $4.5 billion. And that is compared to PlayStation's record-setting Q4 for them. So Sony had a really, really great Q4. On the Xbox side, Xbox has been growing at a really incredible rate. Xbox has achieved record sales for 6 years running, and this is the first decline since Q2 2020. That's quite a significant accomplishment for Xbox to catch up to where Sony was so quickly. Here's where the numbers sit currently. So Tencent, we'll start with Tencent, the big dog. They're at 33 billion for this year. Sony is at 21, or for the last year, for 2021. They're at 33 billion. Sony's at 21 billion. Xbox posted 16.2 billion, and Nintendo is at 15 billion. So Xbox has actually moved above Nintendo. Versus the previous year, it was Tencent at 29.3 billion, Sony at 22.67 billion, Xbox at 13.83 billion, and Nintendo at 15.79 billion. So Xbox has grown to the point that they're able to surpass Nintendo. And let's talk about that gap a little bit. I said, I was criticized for it, that Xbox is going to catch up with because of the innovations they had made. The spread was $9 billion in 2020. And in one fiscal year, that spread has narrowed to $5 billion. That's really interesting. And Sony, based on the changes in their tone, the changes with their strategies, really, really smart thinking on Sony's part, because they needed to make it happen, they have managed to sustain and correct that sort of flatlining curve, basically, with their revenue growth. And I think we're going to see things flatten off again with both companies, and it's going to get slower growth-wise. But Xbox has a great infrastructure setup, so it's going to be interesting what happens. Point is, a lot of things I predicted have started to happen. My silly hand graph about Xbox catching up, it has continued to happen. Sony created their Game Pass answer, and it's great. I actually really like the Game Pass answer. They restructured PlayStation Now in a way that makes sense for PlayStation, and I actually like the extra tier quite a bit. And Sony's bringing more games to PC. I selfishly hope that their revenue goals that they've set for themselves mean a smaller window for those PC releases, like 3 months, 6 months. That would be amazing, in my opinion. And I think it would be really smart on Sony's part. So over on Xbox, you can see they're narrowing the gap and they're doing day one PC releases. You can just basically play wherever you want. Xbox doesn't care. You can play on a television. You don't even have to have the box. And I think people forget that even Sony is saying they're dissatisfied with the fact that people aren't able to play their games because they can't get PlayStation 5s. It sounds like the inventory issue should be corrected this year, and they haven't adjusted their $18 million goal, or 18 million consoles sold this year goal. They're currently at like 21.7 million consoles. I have it here in the stats somewhere. But yeah, 21.7 million PS5 units have been sold, and they want to sell 18 million this fiscal year. So let's talk about some of the other stats on the Sony side. Seeing this is sort of, we're going to be talking about Sony a little bit about how Xbox stacks up. So that's how Xbox stacks up currently, right? This is the lowest Q1 since fiscal year 2019 for Sony. Not great for them. Profitability took an even bigger hit, moving down almost 40% due to general weakness in software, plus increased spending on its pending projects. Whatever that may be, I'm interested to find out more. Some positive notes. They did sell 21.7 million PlayStation 5 units. 2.4 million PlayStation 5 sold from April to June, an increase over last year. They're still predicting that they sell 18 million PS5 consoles this year, but I read this great analysis from Dom's Plays, who says he predicts that that's going to be adjusted. It just doesn't seem realistic because of where we're at. He says, I expect reduced guidance within the next 2 quarters unless input costs drastically improve. And there's a rumor going around that Sony might increase the cost of PlayStation 5. I don't think that's going to happen. I think that would be suicide. But we'll see how long this video ends up being. I think that would be disastrous for them. It is not a good idea. I think what's more likely is that they'll make a mid-generation box and sell that at a higher price point, which would make more sense. Here's what Sony said about those numbers, though. At this point in time, we have made no change to our 18 million unit sales forecast for PlayStation hardware in financial year 2022, said executives of the company's prepared remarks. But since we are seeing a recovery from the impact of the lockdown in Shanghai and a significant improvement in the supply of components, we are working to bring forward more supply into the year-end holiday season. And I've actually seen consoles. Well, I saw consoles for both PlayStation and Xbox in Thailand. Anyway, when I was there in May. In the United States, I still check every time I go in. You always see Xbox Series S at Costco. You don't really see them. Yes, I shop at Costco. Good deals. Oh, okay. Edible pizza, we'll say. Edible pizza. But anyway, yeah, so there's that. The comments I've heard a lot, though, is that no one is playing their games. Like, that's been in the headlines a lot. Because where is that coming from, right? So we're moving on to software, basically. They saw a 2% overall decrease year over year from Q1 last year, which had a lot of great games, to this year. So that's not too bad. But there was also a decrease in third-party sales. There was a decrease in first-party sales. There's been an increase of development costs at their studios. And they've already said that there's going to be a 16% decrease in 2022, the sales forecast, due to the Bungie deal, the Haven deal, and less game sales. Compared to this time in 2021, people simply aren't spending as much time or money on software and related content, even if they still have demand for hardware. 2022 this far, I'll be honest, it's been pretty boring. There's a lot of cool games, like we got to check out Stray. I played As Dusk Falls, which is something I wouldn't normally play, but it's a boring year. Things are really slow until like God of War Ragnarok, which everybody's hyped for. Even Phil Spencer's talking about how excited he is. But yeah, it's been a pretty dull year. Both Sony and Xbox numbers are not as glib as they'd seem. And the reason I say that, I think I said at the beginning of the video, things just exploded in a way nobody could have predicted in 2020, 2021 in the gaming sector. And this is the market adjusting itself to some base reality that is actually sustainable. You don't see growth like you did the last 2 years. Like, everybody was breaking records. Xbox is breaking records. PlayStation's breaking records. Everybody's doing great. Things are finally getting back to some sort of kind of normal. So I don't think those numbers are going to get better anytime soon. We're going to see a lot of reports for the next year about negative year-over-year numbers, right? Dom says revising downward both revenue and profit metrics while highlighting it expects a bigger decline in third-party software sales. Profit will also be impacted by closing the purchase of Bungie, which went effective a couple weeks back. And I talked about where everybody sits and how the gap has narrowed from $9 billion in 2020 to about $5 billion, which is great. It means they're more closely competing. They're going to be offering better things for PlayStation fans. Real PlayStation fans, not the fanboys. Well, the fanboys too, I guess, everybody. Software sales, here's what should be concerning. These numbers are big, even with what I've said in context. So software sales dropped 26%. No games are coming out in Q1, really, right? First party sales are down 39%. That's a lot. GT7, which I actually played, by the way. I actually beat the whole campaign. Probably more than all those people who wouldn't shut up about it for, like the whole pre-release cycle played. God, and then it comes out and everybody craps on the microtransactions and everything. And yeah. The microtransaction thing wasn't a great look. The marketing around GT7 was just bad. So anyway, that came out the closest to this Q1 reporting. Q1 is April, May, and June. So there's a theory about why people aren't buying these games and why sales are down. Dom Slays, who just has a great analysis about everything, about why Xbox is down and why PlayStation is down. You should go check out his stuff. He thinks that people don't like paying $70 for games. He theorizes that people are waiting for the $7 price point on games like GT7 and Horizon to go down. And I think he might be right, because people are feeling the financial squeeze right now. So when you have options out there on the market, you have this premier brand with PlayStation, right? They're going for the Apple strategy. They want the prestige and the everything that goes along with it. But they're selling their games at a premier price. And they're great games, and sure, we've had the $70 conversation a million times. But there's games like The Last of Us that you can get cheaper, right? I'm going to be really curious to see how The Last of Us remake sells. I do think actually a lot of the changes are going to be positive, but I think the price point is too high for the game. And a lot of people are like, well, you don't have to buy it. I'm not going to buy it. And a lot of people probably aren't going to buy it because people are scared right now about spending a lot of money. Everything you're hearing is recession this and recession that. So don't expect some boon to come out of nowhere. And another note, everybody always talks about, physical media is the way to go. 79% of everybody's sales, or Sony sales, are digital. Whether or not it is the best way to buy games or not isn't the point. The point is, most people buy digitally. Even those physical editions that you get, like the God of War Collector's Edition, does not come with a copy of the game. You get a code to download it. So, yeah. Some more positive numbers. PlayStation Plus members rose by 1 million, and I'd imagine that this is because of the changes in the tiered system and such. I don't know if the PlayStation changes count toward that quarter. It did launch in some other territories, so I suppose that would count. But I think the changes to PlayStation Plus, adding the extra tier and such, probably added growth to that area. And also just organic growth. Don't be deceived. Oh, yeah, a lot of people like to throw around the 47.3 million subscribers. Oh, wow, look, they already beat Game Pass. Look, when you flip the service that is required to play a lot of online games, unless they're free to play, when you bundle that in together, and then flip a switch, and now everybody are subscribers to, PlayStation Plus. It's smart because it makes it look better than it actually is. How many people are in the extra tier? How many subscribers are in the extra tier? That's the real metric of success, in my opinion. Now, if they have 25 million people in that one tier up, they've managed to upsell one tier. then hell yeah, then they're kicking some butt, right? I highly doubt they have 25 million people subscribed to the extra tier, which you should subscribe to, by the way. I think it's great. But anyway, monthly active users are down 15%. That means people aren't even turning on their PlayStation 5s in Q1. People just aren't signing on. Here's what they said about it. Total gameplay time for PlayStation users declined 15% year on year in Q1. Gameplay time in the month of June improved 3% compared with May and was down only 10% versus June 2021. But this is a much lower level engagement than we anticipated in our previous forecast. So even knowing what's coming, PlayStation was like, yeah, 15% is really bad. we didn't expect it to be that bad. Sorry, y'all. Anyway, we believe the main reason for this is that the growth of the overall game market has recently decelerated as opportunities have increased for users to get out of the home as COVID-19 infections have subsided in key markets. Also, nothing is coming out. There's no games. There's no new stuff. What's really scary, though, is Horizon and GT launched in the last quarter, right? And they were talking about the records and everything in Q4. But you're telling me everything plummeted that much a month later? Like nobody played GT7 in April? Nobody played Horizon in April? Not saying nobody, but like a 15% decrease is very significant. That's a lot. That is a lot. But again, their context is important. COVID restrictions are up. People can get outside. But still, it seems high to me. PS4 ends its run at, oh yeah, this note, I forgot about this one. So the PlayStation 4 ends its run at 117 million units sold. They're not going to do any more reporting for the PlayStation 4, which is kind of a bummer because PlayStation 4 has been selling really well, and it actually clocks in at being the second best console sold of all time. I think it's behind the PlayStation 2. That is awesome. PlayStation is selling slower than the PlayStation 4 did. So the PlayStation 5 just isn't able to sell as fast right now. I don't know if that's because of the supply constraints or what's going on there, but they're behind by like 4 million units right now. 4 million. That's going to be a hard gap to cover. Yeah. PlayStation 4 had sold 25.4 million units in this time period. PlayStation has sold 21.7 million units. There are some other things coming, though. There's PlayStation VR 2 coming. They released the Backbone trailer recently talking about how they're going to be making mobile an easier platform that people play on. Sony is diversifying their avenues for people to access their games, and I think that's great, right? Look, the odds of exclusive titles that are owned by Xbox coming to PlayStation and exclusive PlayStation games coming to Xbox, that's just not a reality we live in. Like those companies, they're just not willing to play nice for whatever, well, for money, right? If I had it my way, would everything be available everywhere? Yeah, or at least on PC. My favorite thing about the Xbox ecosystem is that I can play games on my PC, and if I want to chill on the couch, I can play on the couch. I just wish PlayStation offered the same thing. I wish I could play all my PlayStation games day one right here on my PC, the same one I record these videos on. That would be I think that would be great for PlayStation. And clearly, as Xbox continues to narrow the gap, like what's it going to take? Does Xbox have to pass the revenue for a fiscal year for Sony? Like maybe that happens, probably not in 2022 because Xbox doesn't have a lot going on. At least Sony has God of War. Like thank goodness, right? Xbox better cram a lot of stuff in that Q1. Like, I don't know what they're going to do. I think they're going to have a really bad 2022. They can have great service and everything, but yeah. And then anyway, there's this rumor that Sony might increase the PlayStation 5. This comes from Video Games Chronicle. They were asked about a potential price increase for the PlayStation 5. At this point in time, there's nothing specific I can share with you about prices. That was the response from the Executive Deputy President and Chief Financial Officer, Hiroki Totoki, as transcribed by VGC. That was just from their article, I guess. So Dom's take on this response, which he highlighted in his piece, even given the challenges faced by electronic manufacturers right now, I think it's potential product suicide to drastically raise prices on consumers that are already cash strained. especially when it comes to the PlayStation 5, which already sees inflated secondhand prices amidst rampant scalping and limited inventories. Thankfully, CFO Hiroki Tsutoki agrees for now, and he dismissed the question. Now, where does that come from? That comes from the fact that Sony is raising the price on all of their consumer electronics, except the PlayStation. So it's not that weird of a question for an investor to ask. They're like, you literally are raising the prices on everything else. Are you going to be raising the prices on the PlayStation 5? Yeah, they raised the prices of a range of consumer electronic products, including some cameras, Blu-ray players, home theater systems, headphones, speakers. The price went up while we're in a recession. Like, that just seems bad to me. So they're like, are you going to raise the price of the PS5? And they're like, no. I do think what they're going to do is they're going to release another PlayStation SKU sooner rather than later. I think it'll be like in the next 2-3 years. That'll probably use a lot of the same internal components, but maybe they figure out some ways to like sort of sexy it up, so to speak, right? And then they can offer it at a little bit higher price point and get that profit margin a little bit better, because they're selling their PlayStation 5s at a profit. It would be really weird if they raised the last earnings call, they were talking about, oh, we sell them at a profit. Anyway, I probably could have made this 2 videos. I've been collecting these notes for a while. It's a lot of interesting stuff to dive into. Covered off on how both these companies are sizing up, Sony and Xbox. It's some interesting stuff, and where Sony sits. I don't think Sony's doing as bad as all the headlines that we've been seeing everywhere and all the reactions that have been posted online make it out to be. I don't think it's great that they lost, 39% of sales for their first party games. That's a lot. 39%. Yeah, first party sales down 39%. Oof. But anyway, I think a lot of that's because, quarantine's over for some people, and the industry evening out. Let me know what you think in the comments below. Thank you so much for watching, everybody. Hit that subscribe button, hit that bell if you like this video. Hit that like button also. I greatly appreciate it. So to go over all this, I also reached out to Dom's Playing to see if he'll be on. We'll find out soon if he's going to say yes or no. But our old friend Rich Hogue is going to be joining. I had to think for a second. I was like, did I screw up his name again? What is wrong with you? But no, that's correct. Yeah, so really exciting to have him on to kind of go over some of these questions and get his take about where these companies stand and what they do going forward. Thank you so much for watching. I'm going to get out of here, and I'll see you for the next one. Thank you so much to the members. Oh, my goodness. Thank you so much to the members that support this channel. I greatly appreciate each and every one of you, truly. And if you want to become a member, you click that join button right down there. We've had a few new members join in the last few days, so I got to actually update this list. Thank you, everyone. I'm going to get out of here for real, and I'll see you for the next one. Bye for now, everybody.